Hello everyone, I'm Krishna Nair, one of the members of the HackP organizing team. HackP is the international virtual hackathon by Kerala Police. It is a technologically innovative platform that helps to nurture new talent and build innovative solutions that help the police force tackle real-world problems in this exponentially growing digital world. Hope the previous session by Mr. Akash Agrawal has helped you in understanding the practices adopted by the cybersecurity workforce in this post-pandemic scenario. This session marks the end of today's events. We have with us Mr. Manu Zacharia, who is an information security evangelist with more than 25 years of professional expertise. He is one of the founders of Cocoon International Hackathon and Information Security Conference, and also Information Security Initiatives. He is a vital contributor to the Kerala Police Cyberdome community. Today, he is with us to discuss about intrusion detection using Snort. Before I hand over, I would like to let you know that you can drop your queries in the comment section in our Facebook and YouTube channels. He will respond to your queries at the end of the session. On behalf of the entire HackP team, we welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to thank Cyberdome and HackP team for the wonderful, show. I got a lot of feedbacks and comments about the quality of the talks and all those things. So first of all, congratulations to the complete team. Secondly, very happy Independence Day to all of you. So without wasting too much of time, let me start. So I believe all of you can see my screen. So just to give you the scenario before I start, I was asked to deliver a technical talk, and then I gave three choices. The first one was, I think, blockchain, to give a demo how blockchain works, how to set up a local blockchain. And the second was to get into the details of firewalls in Linux, basically the net filter IP tables combo. And the third one was IDS with Snort. So the team recommended Snort, and that's how we landed with this topic. So that's the quick introduction, how we landed with this topic. Now, this is more of a technical talk in the sense we will see how to install and run the Snort intrusion detection system. Now, people who are very new to intrusion detection system, I'll give you a quick introduction, and towards the end we can take questions. If it is something that I can answer immediately, I'll definitely. Otherwise, probably I can get back to you over email or any of the other offline channels. Okay, so with that, let's quickly start. Now, all of you might have come across this statement or this quote. There are, we generally tend to read it 10, but there are 10 kinds. Basically, it is in binary. So there are two kinds of people in this world, people who know that they got hacked, and the other category is those people who feel that they never got hacked. Now, when we say hack or intrusion or illegal access, it's all same. So IDS is one element that can help you detect whether there is any intrusion happening into your system or to your network. So with that quick introduction, let's get into some statistics, COVID time statistics, if you see, and if I've specifically picked up ransomware. So if you look at the ransomware, statistics, you can see that as per the current reports, every 14 seconds, one company gets infected with a ransomware. Now, all of you know what is a ransomware. It's a kind of a malware which locks your computer or encrypts it or encrypts your files and then asks for a ransom amount. You have to pay that, and then probably you'll get it. There's no guarantee that you'll get the data back. Now, 55% of the small businesses, they pay the ransom because they don't have backup, they don't have security processes in place. So they are forced to pay if they want to continue the business operation. Now, the projected damage cost is 20 billion by 2021. And once a company gets infected or affected by the ransomware attack, the average downtime is on an average 15 days. So probably 15 working days. So it's not a small it's not something that is not 1 or 2 days of downtime. It's almost half a month So that is going to take a toll on your business operations and all those things. So these are some of the statistics. If you look at the 2019 last quarter, you can see how much was the attack, and 2020 first quarter, that is immediately after the COVID started and people started working from home, you can see the increase is almost double to triple. Okay, so we all are aware that the number of attacks are increasing, especially during the COVID, and it is going to increase post-COVID also because of the work from home culture and a lot of other environmental changes. Now, don't think that only the IT companies or the banking sector gets targeted. You can see almost every domain. Okay, transportation is there, financial services there, real estate is there, food and other retail industry. Every industry is basically targeted, including the healthcare. You can see they're getting attacked or targeted. And if you look at the IDPS is Intrusion Detection and Prevention System market. The recent study has clearly said that there is going to be an increase from 4.8 billion to almost 6.2 billion by 2025. So in the 4 to 5 years, you're going to see a large increase in the IDS IPS market share. Okay. And why this increase? There are a couple of reasons. Because number of intrusions are increasing. We already discussed this. And then the cyber landscape is changing. Today, our honorable Prime Minister announced that there is going to be a cybersecurity policy, or some draft is coming. So a lot of things are going to change, and then that is what is the compliance requirement. So if there is a compliance requirement, every network, every organization is supposed to follow it. Okay, then only they can operate. So there is a lot of new changes that is going to happen, and that is why one reason the IDS is going to increase, or the market share is going to increase. Okay. So before we get into IDS, what is the full form of IDS? Intrusion Detection System. Now, how do you define intrusion? So basically, any unauthorized system or network activity, you can call it as an intrusion. So let's say I'm allowed to go to Cyberdome during working days. So let's say from morning 9 to 5, if I'm allowed to go there. But what if I go there at 3 a.m.? Is it an authorized activity? So that kind of unusual access or unusual behavior, either by an authorized person or an unauthorized person, all these things falls under the example of intrusion. So basically, any unauthorized access is what we call it as intrusion. Okay. Now, the next is the definition of intrusion detection, or IDS. It's basically it's not just a simple. Generally, when we implement it in full networks or a real operational network, so it's a combination. But for our example here, we'll be using only one system or one entity as a IDS. But in real networks, you will have multiple components operating together to achieve a particular detection goal. So a range of security techniques designed to detect malicious system and network activity or to record evidence is basically intrusion detection system. So one of the common questions is, can intrusion IDS prevent attacks? Okay, so if an IDS can work with a firewall or a similar security control, then we call it IPS, Intrusion Prevention System. Only IPS can prevent attacks, not IDS. IDS is something like a security camera in your campus. Okay, it can only detect, it can only monitor, it can only record. It will not stop, or it will not do any preventive mechanism. So it's more like a security CCTV camera that is installed in your network. You can visualize it like that. Okay, so that's the quick introduction to intrusion detection system. Now, where does it fit in? So if you have studied security, the concepts, the theories, there is a concept called layered security approach. Some people call it castle approach. Some people call it elastic security. Okay, so all these represent the layered security approach, where you have multiple layers. So if you look at this particular diagram, you can see there is a network layer, there is a host layer, there is an application layer, there is a data layer. So at each layer, we try to protect the particular layer. So the intrusion detection system falls under network and host layer. So network layer IDS is what we call it as NIDS, Network Intrusion Based Detection Systems, and host based IDSs are there. So that is what you install on a particular host. Now at the application layer, just to give you an example, the application layer controls include the ACLs, the access control list, and the data level security controls include encryption. So if you encrypt a data, it basically falls under the data layer of layered security approach. Now there is a new approach also, which I believe there was a session during HackP, which we call it as zero trust network or zero trust architecture. So it is nothing but basically not trusting any entity on the network or outside the network. And before any access, you basically try to do the authentication and authorization before every access, irrespective whether the user is within the network or outside the network, or is it a service, is it a system, whatever it is, there has to be authentication happening. Now, please understand, zero trust doesn't mean that you don't have a layered security approach. Zero trust, I would say, is something that runs on top of layered security approach. It is an extension to provide more security. So there are a couple of discussions going on in the sense that layered security is out. No, layered security is still there. Zero trust is more like I would say it's an extension or a patch over the layered security approach. So just to link how IDS is related to layered security approach and zero trust network, basically. Now, just like we have the what is Snort basically. So it is something like you have to understand there are browsers, and one example is like Firefox and second is Chrome. Similarly, IDS is just the concept. There are different products or softwares or hardwares. So one software is Snort. Okay, so Snort is basically free. You can run it on Windows, Linux, and even Mac. And it is both. You can configure it in IDS mode as well as IPS mode. So IPS mode is is where you integrate it with other security control. But what we today will cover is the IDS mode of Snort. The first version was released in 1998. And Snort is now maintained or developed by Cisco. Cisco took over SourceFire, and so now Source is actually under the development, management of Cisco. The latest version is 2.9.16. August 4th, 2020 is the release. It is written in C and licenses GPL version 2. So just to give you a quick introduction to Snort. Now, what is the percentage usage in the industry? Snort stands at the third position. RSA and Checkpoint is there as number 1 and 2. Probably, first reason being RSA and Checkpoint is a commercial tool, and they provide a lot of features and ready to use user. This thing. Snort is more like the geeky stuff, in the sense that you have to configure it. A lot of command line approach or command line configuration is required. But if you know the internals, Snort can do a lot of things. You can fine tune it, control it. A lot of things are possible. So just to give you an idea on the industry share, Snort is standing at the third position, basically. Okay, now how do you install Snort? Basically, there are 5 stages. The first thing is we have to install the dependencies. So dependencies are the basic softwares required for Snort to work. So first we will install that. And then we will install a library called DAQ, Data Acquisition Library, which is required for Snort. So it is again another kind of dependency, you can say, but it is a core dependency. And then we move to installing Snort, and then we configure Snort, and then you can test it and run it. So these are the 5 stages of a Snort installation. So for all those participants who wish to do it after my presentation, I have provided the the link from this location. You can download, in the sense the version of Snort I'm going to use, the VMware Debian. I'll be using Debian Buster, which is Debian 10, and Snort and DAQ software I put in this link. You can download it, and then probably after my talk is there, you can just follow the video and get it up and running. It's very simple. So that's the quick introduction. So all of you know who said this. A lot of talk and less code is not good. So let's get into the code part. Let's see how we can get the Snort up and running, okay, on a Debian 10 Buster machine. Okay, so let's start. I believe all of you can see my screen. So the first thing what we will do is, just give me 1 minute. Okay, so the first step is basically we need to install the dependencies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a apt-get update, and so this is basically to get my repository synced, and then I have to install the dependencies. So I believe all of you can see the screen. So I'll say. So this is the list. You can, once the demo is over from the video, you should be able to copy it. Otherwise, also in case if you need it, just let me know. Otherwise, it is there in the official documentation also. You can download, I mean, you can copy it from there also. So basically, we need to install the dependencies. So that is the first step. I'm unable to see your questions if there are any, but I'll try to answer it after I finish the session. So please note down your question, and then towards the end, I should be able to answer that. So just to give you a quick revision, this is the okay. So this is the dependency list. So these softwares are required for you to compile the Snort source code. Okay, so we are going to compile the DAQ and Snort source code very soon. So if that time any failure is happening, the only reason is because this step is not done properly. So this step is very, very important. If you miss out even one component in the future steps or in the upcoming steps, you will encounter errors or problems. Okay, so this step is very, very important. So first step we just finished. The first step is install the dependencies. The second step is to install the data acquisition library. Okay, so let me go to user src, user source snort src, and I have already downloaded the both the software source code. So these are source code which I have downloaded. I've shared the link. If you remember in the slide, I just mentioned the URL. From there, you can get the same version. You can try out other version also, but if you follow the same version, there is a guarantee that it will work. Okay, because the dependencies, everything I've verified personally. So let's install it. So first, what we will do is star zxf, and we will create the DAQ folder, or we extracted the DAQ folder. You can see I just extracted the DAQ folder, and then we will change directory to DAQ folder, and then we will run the configure script. So there is a script inside this. You can see that if you do a ls, so you can see there is a configure script here. Where is it? Yeah, so here is the configure script. So we just need to run it. Everybody knows what is configure script. So this script basically checks whether your system is ready for the compilation, you could say like that. So you can see it is on the left hand side, you can see it is checking. So basically your system is getting a kind of check. So I said, if you have not installed the dependencies, you probably going to get some errors here saying that, okay, this component is missing. So ideally towards the end, you should not get any error lines basically. So if you get an error line, that means you probably have to go back to the first step and then see what mistake you made. Otherwise, this is the first step in the installation of DAQ. So the first step is you have to run the configure script. Once we do the configure script, the second command that you have to run is the make command. Okay, so make is basically compiling the source code. And again, you can see towards the end of the line, like there is no error messages here. Okay, if you don't see any prefix like error or warning, warning is fine, but error you should not get. This means that we successfully completed the make the command also. And the final command is whatever we compile, we need to install it, and that's why we have the make install command. So the third command is make install. Okay, so this finishes our DAQ installation. So we have 3 steps in DAQ installation. First is download, then extract, and after that do a configure, make, and make install. 3 steps are there. So this completes our second stage. So quick revision on whatever the phases are. The first phase is install dependencies. Second phase is install DAQ. DAQ again you can divide it into sub stages. The first is download, extract, then change directory, configure, make install. Okay, the third phase is your install Snort. So again, if you go back to Snort source directory which I created, you can see there is a file called snort2916 tar.gz. This is the source code of Snort. You can extract it, tar zxf snort, and this will extract the Snort source code, and you can see we have the Snort directory. Okay, now we change directory, and then first let's check whether there is a configure script is there. Okay, so you can see we have the configure script. Now what we can do is we can run the configure script. Now what we will do is when we are running this time, we will provide a flag. We will say enable source file. So what is the meaning of this? You can run without this flag also. So basically what this will do is this will enable Snort to work with other source fire appliances or components or devices. So if you want this Snort that we are installing to work with other source fire components or devices, then you need to give this flag. Otherwise you just configure it like how we did earlier. Okay, so let me show you this time with this enable source fire. Okay, and then let's see how it is progressing. It is checking for so many things. It is checking for GCC, this, that, and all those things, dumbnet.h, lot of files. It is checking header files. And you can see the configure script is done. And the next step is make. It's going to take some time. Still compiling, please wait. Okay, so if you look here, you can see we finished the compilation and there is no error. The last few lines, it is just saying, okay, make one, into one, like that. And there is nowhere it is written any error is there, which means we successfully compiled the Snort, and the next is to install it. So we will say make install. Okay. So that's it. The Snort installation is over. So the third phase is over. The first one is dependencies installation. Second is install DAQ, and the third one is install Snort. Now, how do we verify whether Snort is installed or not? So we can run the command with Snort, and you will see that the output shows that Snort is available at this location. But let's see if we can run it. So let's run capital V, which is for displaying the version of Snort, and you can see we are getting an error. Okay, so even though Snort is it is displayed as installed, we are not able to run it properly because of some error. And you can see here error while loading shared libraries, blah blah blah, something is written. So it's a library related error. So what you can do is you can fix this problem by running the ld-config command. Okay, so load config will solve this issue. Just run ld-config, because you might be aware about discussions where people say Windows you have to restart everything after you install something, and in Linux you don't have to. So this is one example. If you restart, then this you don't have to run this command, but there is another way to achieve the goal, and that is what is ld-config. So let's see whether it works now. And now you can see Snort is displaying the version. Okay, so that's what is the version. So now we are sure that Snort is working as of now fine. Now the next stage, this is now we finished 3 stages. Now let's get into the fourth stage. Fourth stage is basically configuration of Snort, and also the configuration file of Snort. We have to change some particular entries and all those things. So let me quickly do that. So let's create a soft link first of all. So we'll say ln-s user local bin snort user sbin snort. Okay, so this is the first step. So basically what we did is create symbolic link. Okay, so this is the first thing that we did. The next thing you have to do is running Snort as root is not recommended. Okay, so even though I'm doing it as root, it is not recommended. We don't do it when we are in a production server or production network. We always use the sudo command. But just to make things easy, I'm quickly doing it only for the demo purpose. So we should have a separate user. And so let's create a user group. So let's create a group first and then a user group at Snort. So this will add a new group called Snort, and then we will add the user at Snort -r-s user sbin no login -c Snort IDS or something and Snort. So basically we are creating a user, and the R is to create a system account, S is to specify the shell, the -c is for commenting. Instead of Snort IDS you can put some other text, that's fine, and -g is to specify the group to which you want to add this user. So these are the options that I've used along with the Snort user add command. So I've added the user and group. Now we need to create the required directories for Snort to work properly. So we will say mkdir -p etc Snort and rules. Okay, so we will write the Snort rules and place them inside this directory, which is etc Snort rules, and then also we will create a folder for logs. So we will say var log Snort, and also we will say user local lib Snort _ dynamic rules. Okay, so this is the third directory that we have to create. So basically 3 directories you have to create. One is for rules, one is for the log files, and the third one is for the library dynamic cp user src snort source snort 15 etc star dot conf star, and from there we will copy it to etc snort. Okay, so basically we are on what is it that we are copying? We are copying any file which has an extension which starts with .conf. Okay, so that is what, so it could be conf followed by anything. So there are a couple of files which is conf as well as conf1 or something like that. There are a couple of files there from, so this is the source and we are copying it to this destination. Okay, so that is one, and second is we have to copy some map files also, rule map files. What is it? I'll discuss later. User source not etc and star dot map to etc snort. Okay, so these are the 2 types of files that we have to copy. Now snort basically requires 3 files minimum to be present inside this rules folder. So before that, what is the rules? What are rules in snort or IDS? So basically, if you all of you have used antiviruses, and we keep hearing saying like, okay, update your antivirus signature pack or keep updating your antivirus. So what basically it is? So an antivirus is useless without the signature database. Something similar to that, a snort or an IDS installation is useless without having the proper rules. Okay, so rules are the component which makes snort detect attacks. So if you don't have any rules, or if your rules folder is empty, it is equal to not having snort. So basically we need to at least create 3 empty files in rules folder for snort to start working. Okay, so that is what I'm going to do next. I'm going to create 3 files. The first one is called whitelist.rules, second is called blacklist black underscore list dot rules, and third one is for local rules. So 3 files I'm going to create. So I'll say touch, and the location is etc snort etc snort rules, and then I will say I want to create 3 files. So all the 3 files I'll put it in one line, otherwise I have to type 3 times. So I'll say white underscore list dot rules, then I'll say black underscore list dot rules, and the third file is local dot rules. Okay, so this will create 3 files inside etc snort rules. Okay, and the next step is to change file and folder permissions and ownership also. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. So I'm going to say chmod -r is for recursive, and 5775, and I'll change it for etc snort, and chmod -r 5775 var log snort, and chmod -r 5775, and then you'll say user local lib snort underscore dynamic rules. If you remember, these are the 3 folders that we created earlier. Okay, so the next thing is we will say chown recursive snort colon snort. So basically chmod is to change the ownership, change the permission, and chown is to change the ownership. So I'm changing the ownership to the snort user that we created in this step. In this step we created the user, so that is this user and group basically. Okay, so I'm going to change the ownership. So I will say etc snort and repeat it for the remaining 2 directories that we just used in the previous step. Snort colon snort and var log snort. chown snort colon snort and user local lib snort dynamic snort underscore dynamic rule. So basically the folders are same for chmod and chown. Okay, so just remember the only the difference is the command is different. One is chmod and second is the chown command. Okay, now few more changes, very 2 or 3 more changes, and then we are done. Now the next change that we have to do is we have to edit some lines inside the configuration file of Snort. So the default configuration file of Snort is etc snort.conf. Okay, so this is the configuration file. When you are doing it, and if you're doing it in a production environment, make sure that you take a backup of this file. That is the best practice. So I'm going to edit it, etc snort.conf, and then let me go to cancel control this, and then I'll search for rule underscore path. Let me just okay. So you see a 3-line section here. This is line number 104, line number. Okay, so here you see the 3 lines. Here you give the complete path. Okay, so we will say etc snort. This is the path. Change it for the next 2 lines also. etc snort, and the third one also. etc snort. Okay, so change it, and the next 2 lines also we will change it to complete path. etc snort and etc snort. Okay, so that's it. And then if you go through the configuration file, you can see configuration file is categorized into various steps. Okay, so the change that we made is in step 1 or phase 1, and then step 2 is there. After this you will find step 3, like that. So the configuration file is basically divided into various sections. They call it step 3, step 1, step 2, like that. Now we have to go to one more step, which is I think 6 or 7. Let's go there. And I said earlier that we need minimum 3 files inside the rules folder. The first is the whitelist, second is the blacklist, and third is the local.rules. Okay. By default, the configuration file of Snort contains references to many other rule files, which we have to either comment out or delete. Okay, so this is step 7. You can see there are references to many rule files, but if you remember in our previous step, we created only 3 files. One is local rules, second is whitelist, and third is blacklist. So what we basically have to do is you have to delete all these unwanted rules or comment out. The other option is create empty files with these names, which is like a more tedious task. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all these unwanted rule files, or ideally you can comment also, which is fine. Okay, and add the 2 more lines. One is white underscore list, and second is black underscore list dot rules. Okay, so now we are good to go. Almost every configuration, everything is done. Our Snort is ready, and we can test it. So before we run it, we have the option to test it. Now, how do you test a Snort? You can type Snort -capital T. Capital T is to specify that we want to run Snort in test mode, and then -c is to use the configuration file. So etc snort.conf, and you can see the confirmation that's not successfully validated the configuration file. Okay, validated the configuration. So basically our Snort is now ready. Now let me quickly write a rule. So before I write a rule, let me show you the syntax for it. This is the syntax. I'll be sharing the slides if you want, otherwise also it is there on the internet, but let me just explain by writing a simple rule. Okay, so what I'm going to do is nano etc snort rules, and inside rules we had the local.rules, right? And you can see this is an empty file, nothing is there. So let's write our rule. So the rule syntax is like this: alert. So this means that I want to generate an alert, And when do you want to generate an alert? Whenever I detect an IP packet, and then there are 4 any. So instead of any, you can put an IP address or a host name here. So the first any represents source IP or source machine host name. The second any represents source port number. Okay, and the third any represents destination IP, and the fourth any represents destination port number. So let's assume you are running a SMTP server which is running on port number 25, and you want to see or you want to get an alert whenever anybody connects to your 25 port number. So you put it like this. Okay, so let anybody come and connect to your 25 on your machine, you will get an alert. That is the meaning. So you want to detect anybody connecting to your SSH, put 22 like this. You want to find out only one particular IP, whether it is connecting to you, you can put the IP here 192.168.100.200. It's like this. Okay. So instead of that, if you want to capture all IPs and all ports, you just put it like this. Any. Okay. And then we can say, if this condition is matching, show me a message. The message could be anything. You can type anything you want, any message. We'll say hackp rocks. Okay, so hackp rocks we'll say, and then you need to give a snort ID or a signature ID. So we will give some name like some number, higher number. There are some rules for it, but let's give some random number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Some random number give and close the bracket. So this is a simple snort rule. I'll again quickly explain. I want to generate an alert whenever an IP packet is generated, which is coming from anywhere and going to anywhere. Let it be any source and destination IP, no problem. If this condition is matching, generate a message, and the message that we want to see is this is the message. Okay. Instead of this, you can also write, let me not confuse you, I'll say IP packet detected. Okay, I'll say IP packet detected. Okay, and that's it. And we wrote our first rule. Let me quickly run snort. I'll say snort. And what is my interface? How many interfaces I have? You can see I have an interface ENS33. IP is here. So my interface name is ENS33. So I'll say snort-i ENS33, which means run snort on this particular interface. And then I'll say use the username snort and the group snort. Okay. And which is the configuration file that has to be used? etc snort.conf. And then I'll say I want an alert. And where do you want the alert to be generated? Console. So this means that generate alert and show it to the console. Console means wherever we are typing it. So let's see whether snort is generating an alert whenever it is detecting an IP packet. Sorry. Yeah. So you can see it is now generating the log. This screen is only for Mac, so don't worry about it. Okay. So it can see it has detected the IP packets and it is showing, okay, from this IP, this port to this IP, this port number, there is a traffic, and that is what it is currently detected. Okay, so this is the quick introduction how you can write rules and all those things. Let me show you one more example just to show you the power of snort. I'll just show you the what do you call the rule set. I have just copied it here. So let's say you want to cat etc snort rules. You want to know when a Unix or a Linux machine pings you, but you don't want to generate an alert when a Windows machine pings you. Okay, so snort can detect these kind of minutest detail and generate you. So this is a rule that will detect only if a Unix machine pings you. If a Windows machine pings you, it will not generate an alert. So basically it is looking at some extra identifiers are there where it is looking for the data in hexadecimal format. Okay, so it looks at the ICMP packet inside the packet and it searches what is the pattern there. Okay, so this is the hexadecimal of an ICMP packet generated by a Unix machine. So it basically, what I'm trying to say is, the example I showed you is the very simplest form, but the Snort can do very advanced alert based on the rules that you generate, and almost all type of rules you can write. The more you know the TCP/IP internals or the packet structure, the better Snort rules you can write. Okay, so since the time is running out, let me go back to my slides and wind up. So in case if you want to do these things, the software that I've used, I have put it here. You can go here and download. Otherwise, it is there openly on the internet. We discussed about the rule structure. Now you can extend the features of Snort. For example, if you want to write the Snort alert or logs or output to a database, the modern approach is to use a tool or a software called Barnyard, which takes the load of converting and processing or parsing from Snort, and Barnyard takes the load, and then it can be configured to write to a database like MySQL or Oracle or whatever it is. I've worked only with Barnyard, with MySQL and MariaDB, so not sure about Oracle or other databases, but it works very good with MySQL and MariaDB. Now, we have already seen that Snort doesn't have a front end, which means there is no GUI. So we have to depend on other options that we have. The older options were like base and safe and SQL or Squeal, Squeal. And the Snorby is also like 2 to 3 years old now, but the modern recommended approach is either to use OSIM or ELK. There are a couple of other options, but the most famous or the most recommended one is to use it along with OSIM as well as ELK. So that is with Snort. Just by installing it, it won't help you, because you need an interface to understand the attack and understand what is happening, what is the trend. For that, we need a dashboard kind of thing, and OSIM or ELK, you can configure it, and Snort can work very, in a very collaborative manner, I would say, because Snort can work with other security controls also. Okay, so the conclusion is, cyber or IT is a very good technology, very powerful, but any technology that can give you everything has the capability to take everything from you. So we have seen a lot of attacks, and companies bring down your network. You have seen or you have read about some administrator somewhere writing the command rm space rf space root, right? So these kind of stupidities happens. So we need to be very careful when we are dealing with network and cyber security and all those things. So again, intrusion detection or installing a firewall, IDS, antivirus will not stop the attack. Security is not something that you can give with the help of a product. It is basically a culture. It's a process. You have to incorporate that within your organization. No one device in this world can protect you 100%. If anybody tells you that they can give you 100% security, or their product, if you install, you are 100% secure, either they don't know security or they think you are a fool, because there is nothing called 100% security. Okay, so with that, I conclude. The time allotted was 50 minutes. It's exactly 50 minutes. So if you have any questions, please let me know. There's my coordinates. In case if you need to mail or anything, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm open for questions.
Yeah, so thanks, Manu, for the wonderful session. Now we are open for questions. So if you have any additional questions, you can drop your comments in the Facebook and YouTube channels. Okay. So Manu, in a bigger organization perspective, how we can use the Snort, or how much it is scalable?
Okay, so basically, you need to have, if you want, there are two options for you. One is, all these Snorts can work in silos, in the sense that they work independently. The other option is, you have to configure it in such a way that there is a manager sitting at the top, IDS manager is there. Then you have the analyzers there, and then at the lowest level, you have the sensor. So in that case, the Snort will work as a sensor. It will capture whatever it is allowed or programmed to capture, and then it will send it to the analyzer as well as the manager. And then what basically happens is, if let's say there are 3 buildings in your organization, if an attack is happening in building 1, the building 5 immediately gets an indication that, okay, this attack is happening in building 1, so you be ready. So those kind of synchronization is possible only if you connect Snort with a central controlling body, something like I said, OSIM. So if you integrate OSIM and Snort, this kind of requirements we can fulfill, in the sense that you can scale it to whatever number you need. Right now, the demo I showed is a single instance, and it is not something that is managed by a IDS manager. But yes, it is pretty much scalable, as well as you can connect it to various other security control. One of the drawback I would say is, you might have already experienced this, lot of command line stuff is there, which generally scares most of the admins who prefer GUI stuff. So that is the only drawback of this, I would say. But once you know the internals, it's very powerful.
Okay, so that means the Snort logs can be integrated with our SIEM tool, right?
Yes. So OSIM is a open source SIEM tool, so you can redirect it, and then you can process it there. Like ELK, I said, you can. One of the current approaches to go with ELK or Elastic and all those things.
Okay. Thanks, Manu. Yeah. So we don't have any additional questions, Manu. So
yes.
Yeah. So thanks, Manu, for the wonderful session. So it was really an excellent session. We have received excellent insights from you this afternoon. We could benefit from your immense expertise in this area. On behalf of Hackbee, I extend our sincere thanks to you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah. So audience, if you have any additional queries or additional questions, you can directly reach to Manu through his social media handles. Thanks, Manu, for being with us today. So with this, we mark the official end of Hackbee 2020 Hackathon. Once again, congratulations to all the winners who are crowned as the Hackbee 2020 champions. We would also like to take this moment to convey our sincere thanks to the participants, jury members, the webinar speakers, the partners, and the entire organizing team. Thank you, dear audience, far and near, for being with us today. A great day has come and gone, and a better tomorrow awaits us all. Just because the curtains close doesn't mean that the show is over. The curtains need to go down for the next scene to begin. We'll meet you again at the next edition of Hackbee. Stay tuned for more announcements in the coming days. Until then, stay safe and take care. We are winding up this edition of Hackbee with the national anthem. Thank you.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे